Hello. Hello. Hello, Major Tom. Are we receiving? Is that what we're doing? Let's have a look. If everything is where it needs to be. Well, you guys have nothing to look at. I'll change that first. Do we want to display capture? Let's just start with Chrome for the moment. Testing 1, 2, 4. Let's get ads on my own channel, really. Nice. I'm literally getting ads on my own channel because I'm looking at it from my other alternative account. I should subscribe to myself. I'm literally... Okay, beautiful. So yeah, I can hear myself. That means I'm coming through. Beautiful. So yeah, everything's falling over today. Spotify, normally I have a little intro music that I play before I come on. I used to do black background music as well, but I actually heard that was distracting for some people, so I stopped that. And now I'm actually not able to send Spotify. I was using Spotify on a smart speaker before, and it has now completely refused to play on my computer. I just cannot get the device switcher to show up. So that's new. Good thing we don't really need it after this point, but that surprised me. That's essentially a good start of this whole entire stream. So the title of the stream is "Oh heck, I left my notebook on Jupyter," which is pretty much what this is. We're gonna look at Jupyter Notebook, Jupyter Lab, Jupyter, all the things, because that's the first thing I'm gonna point out. If you're not sure what you're meant to be doing here, the page that we currently have on the screen that you guys can't see yet isn't super helpful. Yeah, the closed captioner, I'm afraid, is not going to be working today either. I would have to leave this room, go all the way down, get my phone, go all the way back up, leave, like, do a whole bunch of things, and I just forgot. So no closed captioner today. And I need to find a way for that to work on YouTube anyway, because I'm noticing it's only working on Twitch if I turn that on. So I don't want to have like one audience have something that the other doesn't have yet. So I need to figure out some way to get you guys captions both of the channels. I'm pretty sure YouTube might do some auto captions, but I have no idea. Like, I'd have to do some digging into that. So caption situation, not ideal currently, but I'm working on that. So excuse me while I chug. I've heard of that. Yeah, there's a couple plugins for OBS that do captions. What I've heard is that sometimes when you use those caption plugins, they don't always get picked up by actual Twitch. So you're sending a signal, like everything looks great in your interface, but then it's just not reaching Twitch for some reason. So I need to do a little bit of research on how I'm going to get that. Well, if it's an overlay in my actual OBS, that might be better, but there's already a number of things going on the screen. So I'll have to figure out a medium, middle. I'm glad audio works at least. That was broken as well because I forgot to start something up. So it's going to be one of those streams, I think. Let me put Chrome on the screen here. Chrome. I did forget to say oh hi. Oh hi! What I've also noticed is that I forgot to do the Xerxes theme song for a bunch on the Xerxes channel. That's something I'll get better at some point. Here's Chrome. There you go. Now my camera disappeared, so let me just fix that real quick. And I just watched the camera wasn't working to begin with. There we go. There. Well, whatever works now is what's going to be working in this stream. That's just how these streams roll. If they fall over, they fall over. If they don't, then they don't. So, for the people who can see the screen, what we're looking at is the installation page for Jupyter Notebook. No, just Jupyter. Just installing Jupyter at this point. And I think that's where the confusion starts. Before we dive into this, let me just go into how I installed all this. We're probably going to be working with the browser versions initially anyway, just because we can do that and it's there, so why not? First thing I tried, I figured this is a PyPy package, so I can just do pip install notebook, and that's what I did. And that didn't work because I didn't have the Rust toolchain. So I downloaded the Rust toolchain, I installed notebook, I thought, but then I actually got an unresolvable set of packages. If you just do it with pip, that's apparently what happens. So then I switched to Conda, made it a virtual environment, and just installed it using Conda. And that worked, but I got an error about some dependency in base vent, because I made a new virtual environment for this, and the base vents had like a package that was out of date. So I had to go to the base environment, update that package, update Conda while I was at it, add the Conda Forge channel, because that's apparently recommended, then install Notebook again, install Lab, and some of that you have to do as an admin, at least for my Conda, because my Conda is on a non-writable place otherwise. So you get into this mess where you have to install various things to install various things in the chain, and at some point you get to a working Jupyter install and a Jupyter Lab install. And yes, a bit much. Like if you just want to try out this new fangled notebook, you might want to sort of just make sure that all your documentation paths point to the same thing. Because if I look at notebook, it just says pip install notebook. That actually doesn't work as of current. I tried that yesterday. It doesn't work. That actually released a set of unresolvable packages. At least for me it did. Maybe I had like an old package from some other thing kicking around and I created some kind of weird dependency error, but it just would not let me install it this way. This did not work for me. I didn't even try Lab in this same way. I just went straight to Conda. But yeah, that was interesting. It was fun. Like I mean, you look at all the hacking puns. Look at the fact that Try Hack Me is in the title. I can handle a little bit of runaround. Like I don't necessarily mind. This took me like 20 minutes at most. But yeah, for a completely new person who wants to pick this up, that's not great. Like somewhere, somehow, something went horribly wrong here. Now, like I said, we won't probably be even using the installed versions as of yet, because we have the try in your browser things, which I think is what I will spend most of this particular stream doing. Really, just because I'm going to talk about the UI, I'm going to talk about the accessibility of the UI, I'm going to see where things are well done and where things fall over. And then at that point, I have a tutorial open from DataQuest that we're going to look through. I'm just going to see how far we can get in this tutorial before we completely run into the ground, which I have relatively good hope that we can finish it. Maybe not this stream, but I think we should be able to. And then I'm almost certain we will not be able to get this in this particular stream, because I don't want to go here and go for 6 hours on end. But I do want to also sort of put this against what Google Colab offers now and what Visual Studio Code's implementation of notebooks offers, which all do their own little things. And then, of course, because this is open source, there's a whole bunch of different little add-ons and extensions and things you can add to either ameliorate or terribilize the experience. There's a particular Japanese, I believe they're Japanese, blind initiative, Hasaku, which has written a set of resources for the blind, visually impaired, for machine learning and data science. So think of things that make Colab better. There's a couple of things to make graphs into audio versions of graphs. There's a couple things. I'll put a link to that in the chat, because that's actually super helpful. Data science, blind. And yeah, here it is. Data science and machine learning resources for the visually impaired. It's like GitHub pages. This is something I found that I will probably get back to once we get to data representation and things. But this looks really cool for like a person that needs a little bit of the gap coverage that a regular tutorial wouldn't give you. It's this link. Very cute that my own first-time chat makes that noise too. Well, there you go. That's the thing that we're probably going to refer to at some point. For now, let's just go find that try in your browser thing for notebooks and just see if we can, like, I don't know, start up a new notebook and just get started with stuff. I'll look at the tutorial as we need it. Hello, new person. So it's interesting. It isn't and it is, because what they really want you to do is install MiniForge. And MiniForge is this new sort of installer, particularly for, I think, Windows and Mac OS, that just kind of do that. They will put everything on your path. They will install everything, but that's not what you see when you search for installing Jupyter Notebook. You only see that once you get into the kind of Forge stuff, and then suddenly you see, hey, there is this thing called MiniForge that you can download that installs Anaconda. It installs Jupyter Notebook, Jupyter Lab, I think even Hub. And all of that's there. And I'm like, yeah, but I've already installed half of this stuff by this point. Like, I don't need this now. But yeah, it exists, but it's a bit much. Also, hi, Trellard. Thank you so much for joining up. I think I saw you talking to me on Mastodon a while back. Appreciate you joining up here. All right. Can be pretty rough. Yeah. All right. So let's have a look at the browser versions of this, because I found that a bit later as well. So if you just Google Jupyter Notebook try in browser, I think we'll just land up on the home page for this stuff. Sorry for the Dutchies here. That just happens for so Jupyter.org. Here we go. Just going to a different planet. Oh my god. All right. So try Jupyter. Use our tools without installing anything. Project Jupyter builds tools, standards, and services for many different use cases. This page has links to interactive demos that allow you to try some of our tools for free online, thanks to mybinder. I find that a funny name, mybinder.org, a free public service provided by the Jupyter community. Okay, sorry, I'm 12, secretly. I'll stop laughing at this now. So let's honestly start with Notebook itself. I know that Lab is kind of the de facto now, but I want to sort of start from simple. Okay, so this is Jupyter Lab. This is Jupyter Notebook. And I see a graphic that the alt text of Python logo dash launch Jupyter Notebook demo binder. Okay. I'm guessing I'm pressing that. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, so we're loading it in now. Okay, so at this point, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to send the audio for the screen reader on through, so we can sort of look at what it's doing and what it's not doing. I think that's a good idea. So I'm going to make sure that other audio has been muted. There we go. We'll turn the speech down a little bit so we can all understand it, not just me. I don't know what... I'm going to assume that when you get like a try build, it's going to be at least somewhat relevant, like somewhat recent of a build. I haven't checked the about menu for this, but I think we'll be okay. So yeah, if this is not the latest, blame Jupyter for not putting their latest up here on the try thing. Yeah. So, speech to the stream.
Speech mode off. Speech mode off. Intro Google Chrome 1 of 31. Toolbar view site information menu secure. Tab control intro memory usage text intro document menu item sub menu edit.
Okay, here we are. Hello, speech. So this is Eloquence babbling at you. This is still somewhat fast, I think, for some people. There we go.
Menu out of last checkpoint. Heading level 1 intro.
So the first thing we see is a heading 1 that says intro. It also says that it's a toolbar for
Out of toolbar, heading level 1 intro.
a reason that I have not quite figured out yet.
Out of toolbar, link graphic. Link toolbar, last checkpoint 20 days ago.
This whole entire thing is a toolbar. So the heading here, that is, I guess, like it's part of the bar. So I guess it makes sense visually.
Last checkpoint 20 days ago.
I'm not sure what this checkpoint bit is about.
Graphic Python, Pyodide.
We have a little logo that says Python Pyodide, and that's where the toolbar ends. I'm not sure how this is a toolbar, but sounds are little bits that I use because left paren is way shorter than way longer than that sound. So the sounds sort of just shorten like little bits. Pyodide is in left paren, right paren brackets, and this is why I have sounds, because it's just a lot faster. They're nice, yeah. So the first thing we see is this is a menu bar. Like if we go to the menu bar, can we left and right through these?
Edit submenu, view submenu,
we can. Does down arrow open a menu?
Section.
Yes.
Show header 2 of 20.
But the first option for some reason doesn't immediately retrieve focus. That is annoying, but not unforgivable. That sounds like just some kind of race condition firing. Okay, let's escape out.
Document.
Okay, that's kind of sad. The escape button immediately dismisses the entire toolbar. I would have liked it if it just dismissed, if it closed up that menu and just left me at the menu, but that's not happening. It actually puts you at the very bottom of the page, which means no focus management's being handled here. Chrome is doing this. If you escape out of the menu bar with the escape key, what's going to happen is your focus gets nilled, and focus generally doesn't like that very much. So Chrome is going to just sort of step in and decide, okay, I'm just going to put you somewhere. And somewhere in Chrome land is usually either at the very top or the very bottom of the page. In this case, the very bottom, which not a great experience. So now I have to leave focus mode, jump up and go back here. Let's go see. Normally you would expect that the Alt key opens the menu bar. And obviously that's not going to work in this case because that would open the browser menu bar. So would Alt F open the file menu? No, actually, yes. But the browser one. Okay, so that's unfortunate, but that's not something Jupyter can really help. If this was a dedicated app, like what you'd see in VS Code, for example, and this would open in its own little Electron shell, then you could do this. But this is a lot harder to do when you're not doing that, which is what... Even if you install this, it's going to open in a browser tab. It's just a server running, so yeah. Fair enough.
Oh.
Where are we? Oh, this thing is still there, down there. So let me just... Okay. So here's our menus. This is what we can do here. Let's just first look at the... let's not open anything just yet. Let's just look at this interface in big sort of jumps first, and then we'll just sort of drill into bits bit by bit. We looked at the menu bar. Let's start heading. Headinging from this point onwards, see where we end up. So first heading is just our title, intro, which I'm assuming is the title of the instance, not the notebook, I don't think.
Main landmark, notebook content, region, sales grouping, introduction to the Jupyter lab and Jupyter Notebooks, heading level 1.
Okay, so we have two heading ones here that may get some people to frown. Personally, not a huge problem for me, but I can see it.
Toolbar, intro, heading level 1.
Like, I don't really see why this is a heading 1. Maybe you could just have this not be a heading if you wanted to sort it, but let's just heading around first, see what we end up with. I can see that if we do the second heading, we get to this introduction to Jupyter Lab and Jupyter Notebooks right here in the main landmark. So that's a landmark as well. We'll go for landmarks after this. Interestingly, it says that we're already in Jupyter Lab. So now I'm curious, is this lab or is this notebook? The thing said it was notebook, so we're going to go with that assumption for now, because we can't tell what it is from the title bar, because that just says intro. This is why page titles can be important. Right now, I don't know what program I'm actually in. I'm assuming notebook. Let's continue. Okay. So next heading, what do we got?
Jupyter Lab test tube, heading level 2.
Jupyter Lab with a test tube emoji. Cute.
Jupyter Notebooks, notebook, heading level 2.
Notebook.
An example, visualizing data in the notebook, sparkles, heading level 2.
Here we have an example with a nice sparkles emoji. I can dig it.
Steps, person running, heading level 2.
Person running, that says next steps. That is far-fetched, but I'll take it.
Other notebooks in this demo, heading level 3.
This is heading 3. I'm assuming that this has to do
Next
with
steps,
this
person
bit, next steps. Let's see what
No
else we
other
got.
sources of information in Jupyter heading
Other
level 3.
sources of
No next heading.
information, blah, 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 blah. So, okay, this is the headings. Let's now look at landmarks.
Navigate banner landmark, skip the main link.
Banner just
tree.
has a skip to main content. That's good to have for keyboard users. There's a link that says tree. Not a super like clear immediate picture of what that would do. I'm assuming that opens a file tree, but I'm not sure.
Link
That's sad. That's an unlabeled link with a graphic.
Toolbar heading level 1 intro.
Then we get to the heading. So let's do landmarks here. We are now in the landmark
Navigation
already.
landmark, menu bar file menu item sub menu. Banner landmark, skip the main navigation landmark, menu bar file menu item sub menu.
So the menu bar is a landmark.
Main landmark, notebook actions, toolbar, save and create checkpoint, control plus S.
Notebooks are a landmark.
Notebook content, region cells, grouping, markdown cell content.
And it looks like
No next landmark.
this is also a landmark, and it says
Out of the toolbar,
notebook
notebook content
contents region. Now that would make me wonder if like
Heading level one
every
introduction to the
cell is a landmark or not. Having that there would actually probably not be a terrible idea, but let's see just how we do. So now we've looked at the main huge leap navigation things that we have as a screen reader. We have headings, a couple. Most of them are in the actual notebook that we're looking at. And then we have the one here, the intro at the top, which I'm assuming, like I said, is the name of the lab or notebook instance that we're currently looking at. So let's have a look at what this introduction says. No, actually, let's not do that. Let's first see what kind of controls we're finding
Banner landmark, skip the main link.
by just sort of tabbing around here until we get to that portion. So we have a skip to content link. That'll probably take us to that heading that we just were at.
Start now. Don't show me again. Visit.
Okay, that actually opened a modal.
Link graphic. Mode. Hide notification. Don't show me again. Start now. Try the notebook main landmark. Notebook content region. Click.
So that was very interesting. And a sort of notification popped up that says...
Out of region mode. Full is active. True. Main landmark. Notebook content region. Click to add.
Whatever it says, it's gone now. Basically, it advertised the tour that we could start by clicking the button. This was almost done right. Basically, the problem here is that you can fire off in a notification like that to a screen reader and it'll happily read it to you. Oh yeah, no, we'll get to the editor. We'll get to the editor when we get to it. Don't mind being blind. That's something we'll get to when we do. But I just first want to look at what happened with that toast that we just got. Basically, it was a notification that says, "Hey, there's a tour that you can take, and you should click the start button." And it was good about the fact that it told us about that. So it got ARIA Live announced, basically saying, "Hey, that's here." But ARIA Live strips announcements semantics. So if there's a button in there, it's just going to read it as text. And focus isn't not moved, so we don't actually know where that button is to quickly press it. And this wasn't there for very long. This was there for maybe a few seconds, and then it would disappear, maybe 5 seconds. If you want to have a user like perform an action like that, it is not a good idea to just vanish the button on them. It's better to just sort of have that hang out until they make a choice. Because like what just happened, I was going to click the button. I was very curious about what that would do, and it just vanished on me. So that's not great, and that's pretty easy to fix. Just make that count down a bit longer, or just don't count down at all. Just leave it there. Users will get rid of it if they find it annoying. Anyway, I was going to look through the controls here first because I think I saw a couple moments. Let's see.
Link.
First thing I see is a link. What is that?
Graphic. No next.
It's a little icon that goes to the tree. Okay.
Use up menu 3 of 7. Banner landmark. Link. Skip the main link visited. Link.
That's very
Visit link, skip
interesting
the main link
because
3. Link graphic. Toolbar heading
that
level 1
link
info.
seems to have a text in browse mode but not in focus mode. So that is very odd. I'm not sure why that's happening.
Use up menu 3 of 7.
For some reason, if I tab here, I land on the third menu from the left instead of the first one. That is kind of odd.
Use up menu 3 of 7. Edit submenu, file submenu 1
I
of
can't
7.
just go with the left arrow. I can just go to the other ones, but I can't not quite tell you why that's currently doing that. Some interesting heuristics happening here. Next tab is...
JavaScript enabled for notebook display.
Okay, so trusted button, JavaScript enabled for notebook display. Is that a nodal or is that just a button that toggles things? That's a button. Okay. So it has a tooltip. That's good. We just don't really know what this button does currently. Like, it doesn't indicate that it's a toggle. You can do that with ARIA... What is it? ARIA checked. Or just use a checkbox, maybe, not a button. That could be...
No objects inside. No
I think this actually does not have a label visually.
JavaScript enabled for no objects inside. R. T.
Okay. Let's continue tabbing around here.
Main landmark, notebook content region, sales grouping, the Jupyter community link.
Okay, so that tabs us straight into the little notebook here. So let's actually give that a read, see what they want us to see here. This is a short introduction to the of two of the flagship tools created by the Jupyter community. Block quote. Experimental. Okay, so this is wrapped in warning signs. Very dangerous stuff. This is an experimental interface provided by the Jupyter Light project. It embeds an entire Jupyter Lab interface with many popular packages for scientific computing in your browser. There may be minor differences in behavior between Jupyter Light and the Jupyter Lab you install locally. You may also encounter some bugs or unexpected behavior. To report on issues or to get involved with the Jupyter Light project, see the Jupyter Light repository. So I'm going to go back to what I said before about the installation experience. Right now we have Jupyter Notebook, we have Jupyter Light, we have Jupyter Lab, we have Jupyter Universe, we have Jupyter Hub. As a newcomer, I have no idea which one's in use at any point, and I also have no idea which one I'm meant to be using. So I think we're actually not looking at notebooks currently. I think we're looking at Jupyter Lab, because that's what I keep seeing in these texts. But this text may be wrong. Like, at this point, I don't know what I'm using, so I don't know what interface I'm currently looking at. I'm pretty sure when I looked at the local installed copy, this didn't look like this. It had some more stuff on here, a couple toolbars and things. I'm not seeing those now, so... Okay, so this is the classic note. Okay, so Dr. Tony Fast here says, is that doctor? Is that meant to be doctor, or is that something else? Dr. Tony Fast says, I'm looking at the classic interface of Jupyter Lab. The classic notebooks interface of Jupyter Lab. So what is the... Is Notebook on its own not a thing anymore then? Because you can install Notebook in pip, and you can also install Jupyter Lab. So then what is this? Is this a amalgamation of the two? Have the two made it and had a baby? What's happening here? I'm very curious how we got here. I'm also very thirsty, so excuse me for a second. And yes, I could totally look this up. I could totally research this, but I'm coming at this, at least I'm trying to come at this from a... pretty much just a new user who has heard about this thing called notebooks. Like, I don't know anything. I need to turn the lights on, actually. I have not heard of anything Jupyter before. I'm just coming in from the fact that I know that a notebook is a thing that I know exists. Maybe my course work requires it, or maybe my school told me about it. I'm just sort of here looking at this page, and it says, okay, well... I saw that there was two buttons on this page before. One said Notebook and one said Labs. When I click Notebook, I'm assuming what I'm going to get is Notebook. I'm assuming also that if I click this other one, the Lab one, I'm going to see a different interface. Okay, so Notebook basically is a single document. Like what Dr. Tony Fast here is saying is that essentially we used to have a very differently built notebooks experience out of JS tools, and now we have a new version 7, that's using the same tools as that Jupyter Labs is. So basically the real difference right now is that notebooks is like one notebook at a time, and Labs is more than one, is what I'm understanding. All right, so let's just continue reading here. And the Jupyter Light project, I'm assuming, is yet another thing that makes this even more modern. We'll see how we do. We'll see how we... If this starts completely like running off the rails, we can always switch to the local version. I do have those in a Conda environment, so it's fine. Yeah, so we read this bit. See the we have Jupyter Lab
level 2 Jupyter Lab test tube
with a fancy test tube emoji. It says Jupyter Lab is a next-generation web-based user interface for Project Jupyter. It enables you to work with documents and activities such as Jupyter Notebooks, text editors, terminals, and custom components in a flexible, integrated, and extensible manner. It is the interface that you're looking at right now. Okay, so this is Lab, but it's also Notebook. For an overview of the Jupyter Lab interface, see the Jupyter Lab Welcome Tour on this page by going to Help, Welcome Tool, or following the prompts. We might do that in a little bit, but not quite yet. Let's just first read what this says. See also, for a more in-depth tour of Jupyter Labs with a full environment that runs in the cloud, see the Jupyter Lab introduction on Binder. That is really cool. So in the chat on Twitch, Dr. Tony Fest is explaining that basically this thing that we're looking at now uses WebAssembly to run Python in your browser, basically. And all your packages are already there. Like, it's pretty much what it said. Like, it has all the packages you might want. So we don't have to go install things like NumPy and Pandas and things. Obviously, if we do want to add new packages, we might run into some interesting challenges. We'll have to see how that goes. Jupyter Notebooks. Jupyter Notebooks are a community standard for communicating and performing interactive computing. They are a document that blends computations, outputs, explanatory text, mathematics, images, and rich media representations of objects. Jupyter Labs is one interface used to create and interact with Jupyter Notebooks. Right, and Google Colab is another one, and Visual Studio Code is yet another one. So we'll cover those later. For Jupyter Notebooks, see the Jupyter Lab Welcome Tour on this page by going to Help Notebook Tour and following the prompts. So we have a lot of prompts here. Obviously, if I am a new user, I'm going to want to do those tours. So I think that will be a really good mechanism to just explore this interface here and see how we do. See also, for a more in-depth Jupyter Notebooks tutorial, the classic Jupyter Notebooks interface. See the Jupyter Notebook IPython tutorial on Binder. Okay, well, we'll do that later, maybe. An example, visualizing data in a notebook. Below is an example of a code cell. We'll visualize some simple data using two popular packages in Python. We'll use NumPy to create some random data and matplotlib to visualize it. So the link I shared before has a thing called audioplotlib, I think it's called. And I think it has rudimentary support for some types of graphs. I don't think it does like scatter plots and things, but it does like line graphs, and I think it does bar charts and a couple of other things. So that's pretty fancy. Note how the code and the results of running the code are bundled together. We're going to be seeing that in a minute. I think that's what's coming up now. Let's do the speech back off and just see how this reads.
Note how the code. 1. Edit multi-line from matplotlib import typeless DLT.
Okay, so here's an editor.
Edit multi-line. Note how the code.
Whoa.
Create some random data and matplot below as an example. Number. Binder HTTPS. Number introduction to the Jupyter Lab and Jupyter Notebooks.
Okay, so I pressed enter on one of the editors and it sort of just made the whole entire page editable. That is not something I expected to happen. It makes sense given this is a whole entire notebook.
This is a short introduction to two of the flagship tools created by the Jupyter community.
But now I need to see if I can find a place. Okay, here we are.
Edit multi-line from matplotlib import typeless P. Import numpy as NP.
Okay, so I was just a little bit too fast. Okay.
From matplotlib import typeless P.
So it does look like... Oh.
Create some random data and below is an example of a code. Note how the code and the results of running the code. Note how the code and number introduction to the Jupyter Lab and Jupyter Notebooks. Import numpy as NP. M P O R T. Okay, so it looks like we can go character by character. Don't mind being blind refer to the fact that they couldn't see what they were typing about a year back. I remember that too. I believe what's happened here is that they've updated the version of CodeMirror that's being used. CodeMirror 5 had that problem. CodeMirror 6 does not. And CodeMirror is the code editor that some of these editors, maybe all these editors now use. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but that used to be the case. It does appear that that update has fixed a handful of things. Can we type? We can type. I can see it on the braille display, and it does read on speech, so that's good. Can we get anything like auto suggestions or anything? Auto completes? No? Okay, well, it's not even offering those anyway, but... Very cool. So,
From matplotlib import
From matplotlib import, I'm going to just read this real quick. We got pyplot as PLT, and then import numpy as NP.
Number generate 100 random data points along 3 dimensions. XY scale equals np.random.random.
XY scale np.random.random 3 100 fig ax equals plt.subplots.
Number map each onto a scatter plot will create
Very
with
cool.
matplotlib.
Map each onto a scatter plot will create with matplotlib.
X equals X.
X.scatter. And then we have x equals x, y equals y, c equals scale, s equals np.abs, left bracket scale, right bracket star 500, right bracket.
X.set.
Bracket being parent, sorry. I haven't read code out loud for a minute. X.set, left parent, title equals quote, some random data, quote, created with Jupyter Lab, exclamation point, quote, right parent.
PLT.show.
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 So,
From matplotlib import pipeline as PLT. Edit multi-line number next steps person running. Edit multi-line PLT.show.
maybe not. Let's try it here. Let's just go here. Do we get autocomplete here? If I do PLT,
PLT.show. PLT.show.
doesn't look like that's working. Not that I can see, at least. None of the keys that I'm pressing seem to be having that effect. Unless for some reason this is the markdown cell, but I don't think it is. I have the code right here, so this should trigger. Can I hit tab? No.
Dot.
Do I have to hit control space explicitly to make that happen? No, it doesn't look like it. Okay, interesting. So that does not currently appear to be working for some reason. Let's jump out of this editor for a second. I want to see what's below here.
Number generate x number max.x.plt.
Thank you. Hello, Ginger Kiwi. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Unlabeled graphic to get missing image descriptions. Open the context menu. Collapse output.
So what I'm seeing is right now this graphics that's been generated. We don't have alt text for that. Yeah, we don't have alt for this image. Now that's fair enough. Again, this is something that we can do that.
Zoom 175% alert. Zoom 200% alert.
Oh, that might be a bit much.
Zoom 150% alert.
How's that?
Collapse out unlabeled graphic to get missed. Edit multi-line.
You can also immediately test how the flow does with stuff. But yeah, what I was saying is that there's no alt text for this graphic. Fair enough. That just means that, well, we don't have 200 will do.
Zoom 200% alert.
There's no alt text. I don't know if you can. Supply alt text. I would expect that the title would be the alt text, but that's not happening. Now, obviously, that's a matplotlib thing, not a Jupyter thing.
Collapse output.
What does this button do? That collapses the output, so I guess that just gets rid of it. Now it's gone. All right, I still see it as a screen reader user.
Edit multi-line. Out of edit. Unlabeled graphic expand output. Markdown cell content. Expand output.
So I'll just expand it again so everyone can see it. There we go. That doesn't seem to have any effect on the screen reader version, so that's a little odd.
Markdown cell.
There's a button here that says nothing. There's no icon on here. Do I have a...
No objects inside.
No, this is a button, so I can't see URLs. But the button here, right...
Grammarly, 10 suggestions.
Nope.
Edit multi-line number next steps person running. Out of it. Open Grammarly, 10 suggest unlabeled graphic handshake.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was the case. So
Markdown cell content.
The button seems to be a Grammarly thing. It's right. So, but like I said, in this line up here, we have look at it again. So we have textual information. We have title equals some random data and created with some random data created with Jupyter Lab. That's obviously an awful alt text, but there is a bit of text there that we're not seeing. So I'm guessing that's part of the image, but it's not the alt text. Now, if you had another property, maybe there is an alt property here, alt equals. I don't know. I've not looked at this before. I don't know what you can set using this ax.set method, but that might be a way to do it. That could be a way to do it.
PLT so, from matplotlib import pipeline as PLT. Edit multi-line PLT.
Okay, so yeah. It looks like this runs automatically currently. I remember that I had to like press a button to explicitly run the cell. That doesn't need to be. That doesn't seem to be the case currently. I'm not sure when and how that changed.
I just pressed Control Enter. That did nothing.
Import numpy as NP. Number text fig. Number x.x.dlt out of edit.
All right. So yeah, all we see is pretty much we just popped out a graphic here, and that makes sense because that's exactly what we wanted to do. Now, obviously, the question is, how would you represent this for a screen reader user? That is a very difficult question to answer. That link I shared before, the Hasaku one, has that audio plot lib, and that is one way. Basically, what that does is it makes there is no basically it's a beeps. It's beeps that go from left to right and from up to down, and you can have like different kinds of lines emit different kinds of tones. And I believe there's even a way to set like speech indicators that say, okay, the maximum is 1 and the minimum is -1, and this is the sweep. And you can either have it sweep by itself, or you can sort of explore it with like a slider bar. So that is pretty cool, provided you are able to distinguish musical pitches like that. Not everyone can do that, so this may not be helpful for everyone. What I would probably want is some kind of table that just renders out. So I'd probably just render out maybe a sorted array of like line by line numbers. You say the equitable assistive design. I'm not sure what that is. Is that a package of some kind, Dr. Tony Fast?
Collapse out for markdown cell content.
So we also see that markdown cell content is preceded by the phrase markdown cell content. If we jump up to the editor field, that's not happening for code cells. Code cells are just labeled,
Open Grammarly, 5 suggestions.
from what I remember, just by a number. Yeah, so it says
Left bracket, bullet.
list a bullet, then the left, and the number 1 in square brackets, and then a colon.
Toolbar. Delete a cell, D. Insert a cell below, D. Insert a cell above, A. Move a cell down, Control plus unavailable. Move a cell up, Control plus Shift plus up.
Do these read? Are they linked up?
Unavailable.
No.
Unavailable.
So this is a very easy fix. Basically, what we're seeing here is we have a number of buttons.
Move a cell up. Create a new out of toolbar, edit multi-line note, out of code and the results of running the code out of edit toolbar, create a duplicate of a cell below.
I'm honestly not super sure how this toolbar even came to be. I guess it came up when I interacted with the toolbar, with the code cell below. So that's one thing to keep in mind. What I'm also noticing here is that these buttons are not actually labeled by the labels that are next to them. This is just very sad. You can really easily fix that by just using an aria labeled by. You have these strings of text. Somehow they're not in the actual buttons. They are seemingly like bits of text that are floating. Okay, so that's a good question, Crescent says. Basically what a notebook does is it's like I should have started with that. Good question. A notebook is like a weird living document, I'd almost call it. You have cells. Basically cells are kind of like an Excel sheet. You have like one cell that may have text in it, another cell that may have like an image in it, and then there's code cells, which are literally self-contained Python shells. So you can like run code in there and see the result of that code at the bottom of the cell. That's basically what they do. All right, don't mind being blind. Have a good day. I'll see you soon. So yeah, so alt text for a scatter plot would be difficult because you have so many numbers. Like what's really difficult about alt text for data science stuff is that you need to provide the data without interpreting the data, and that is really hard to do if you have only X amount of characters. But on the other hand, just providing a table may be very like sort of, I guess overwhelming is a word that we can use. It may be overwhelming for some people. The tricky bit there is that, so you have alt text that you can only put non-structured text in, and then you have a table that you can put all the data in, but then you have no way to highlight important data. So how would you cover that? That is very difficult to really answer. If you want uninterpreted data, a table is probably best. And
I would argue that a feature that just sort of outputs a table, maybe Matplotlib has this, I don't know. I'm a very much greenhorn when it comes to any of these tools, so these are very much spitball ideas that I have not actually seen if they exist or not. But if I can just toss out a scatter plot like this, I would also like to be able to just toss out a data table like this with the same data. And if I can do that, then I have uninterpreted data. I'd have to make my own interpretations. The fact that screen readers read a table probably way slower than another person would look at a graph and see like trends and things, that is harder to solve. Basically, at that point, what you can do if you're doing a research paper, for example, is indicate how the graphic that you've included proves what you're indicating, or how it explains what you're indicating in your text, in your prose. At that point, you're interpreting your own data, which interesting because on the one hand, you're sort of leading the reader along without having them needing to know what your data is meant to represent. But it also sort of takes away the agency for the reader / viewer to make up their own mind about the data. So I think a good like middle of the road solution here, pretty much what Dr. Tony Fest says in chat. The data frame is there. You have the data for the numbers, for like the what the graph is representing. So if it's not too large, I would honestly do both. I would show a table of the data and then also a graph with just a little explanatory alt text that says this is the graph of the table. The creator had in mind to indicate that X is showing that Y is doing Z. I don't know, some other thing. Because at that point, you need to cover two bases. You need to cover the casual reader who has no idea what they're looking at. But you also need to cover the non-casual reader who wants to make up their own mind about your data. So that is not something you can do with just one representation of the data. And I think notebooks in particular give you that freedom. They can give you that interactivity. So you should be able to just have an HTML table that precedes this graph and an alt text on the graph. I hear that Matplotlib doesn't currently have an easy way to put alt text on graphs, which is very sad. So at that point, you have to do other things. Now, again, you do have this whole fancy Python interpreter. So what you could do is you could just print a little explanatory message after the graph. Obviously, that's not the same, but it's at least something. It is a crying shame that you can't just do it on the thing itself, but hey, what else is new? Let's see what else we can do here. So we have this graphic, we have these toolbar, these buttons was what I was talking about before. For example, here, we have a button that says create a duplicate of this cell below. And then we have the button.
Move this cell up, Control plus Shift plus up.
Then we have move this cell up, Control Shift up, and again, a button. We cannot use that button because we're already at the highest most cell, I guess. But these don't actually, if you go through these with the arrow keys or with the tab key, let's do the tab key.
Open Grammarly.
It doesn't look like these even go to the tab.
Open.
Looks like my tab key is trapped. Let's move the mouse here. Can I?
Speech mode on demand.
Okay.
Speech mode deeps. Speech mode top. Toolbar.
So that little ding noise is my little substitution for the word button. So all the screen reader is seeing is button, which means that we have no accessible name for these buttons, and we don't have states for these, but that makes sense because these aren't checkboxes. So what we're seeing is what we're naming like an unlabeled button, and the labels, amusingly enough, do exist. They're right there. So like I said, what you can do is just say, okay, give these labels unique IDs, and then just aria labeled by the buttons with those labels that already exist, and that'll happily like follow being translated and still work as long as you don't mess with the IDs. And you have made all these buttons work for screen readers. That's not been done here, and that's a shame because that's a very low-hanging fruit. I hope that someone can get on that because, like I said, that is like 5 minutes of work.
Open Grammarly.
Let's see, what else can we do here? Open Grammarly is obviously an extension that I have installed. It has nothing to do with the interface here. I think that's all we have for this particular thing. So let's continue on here.
No next heading. Banner landmark toolbar intro heading level 1. No next heading. Last checkpoint 20 days ago.
Looks like our
no next heading. Graphic Python out of
stuff
cut to cell X.
disappeared. Let's see.
Copy to cell C. No next heading. Out of open Grammarly 7 to turn off mode main edit multi-line interactive computing and our ecosystem where many of the Jupyter community ask questions, help one another and discuss it.
Interesting. So because I opened that, I just escaped out. Does that help?
Banner landmark tool. No next heading. No previous heading. No next heading.
No. So because I interacted with the editor, we now no longer have the semantics of the page we had before. Because it's open in an editor, it's technically just all a multi-line edit field. It no longer renders the preview, and I'm not sure how to get it back.
Out of edit. Open Grammarly. Open. Markdown cell content. Out of region notebook actions toolbar kernel status progress R100. Python iodide. Jupyter lab.
So here we can see some things. These do have labels. That's kind of interesting.
Cell type combo box collapse markdown. Restart the kernel and run all cells. Restart the kernel.
And these don't.
Interrupt the kernel. Restart.
So what if I restart the kernel, run all cells? Is that going to
restart the kernel of intro.ibn? All variables will be lost. Dialog restart.
Yeah, go for it. Do it.
Restart.
Restart the kernel. I'm noticing that this modal neatly retrieves focus and puts it in the modal. Dropped me on the first button that I would like it to be dropped on. This is good. Can I leave this thing without making a choice? No, that's again a good thing. Let's confirm this.
Main landmark notebook actions toolbar.
Okay, they get my page back. No, I did not actually. What if I refresh the page?
Jupyter notebooks RG/try Jupyter mode full hide notification. Don't show me again. Start now. Alert try to welcome tour. Start now. Don't show me again.
2. Okay, I'm on that thing now. Is it gonna just disappear from under me if I don't do anything here?
Don't show me. Start now.
Yep, it is. Okay, there it went.
Mode full is main ask questions, help one another, bullet join our discussions, the link project is community.
All right, so
introduction to the Jupyter lab.
Now my stuff is back. So I don't actually know how to do that canonically. I just sort of refresh the page. That sort of stopped the editor from being an editor. I'm assuming there's some kind of hotkey that switches between editable and just a preview. I don't know that hotkey. I didn't immediately see a button for it. That's an interesting one. Because that also stops you from quickly navigating between the various things in this cell. Like if you don't have this, you need to control F everywhere, which is not ideal. I think that sort of Visual Studio Code has this problem, but they sort of worked around it in a really interesting way. Foreshadowing, we'll probably cover that next week. But yeah, let's continue on with this little tour that we were doing. So we did...
Introduction to the Jupyter lab.
This bit, we did this bit.
Notebooks, notebook, an example. The next steps person running heading level 2.
Now this is next steps. This is just a short introduction to Jupyter Lab and Jupyter Notebooks. See below for some more ways to interact with tools in the Jupyter ecosystem and its community. Other notebooks in this demo. Here is some other notebooks in this demo. Each of the items below corresponds to a file or folder in the file browser to the left. Lorentz.ipynb uses Python to demonstrate interactive visualizations and computations around the Lorentz system. It shows off basic Python functionality. Gotcha. Thank you, T-Rallard, for that. I was supposed to run the cell and then it lets me see it again. So Shift Enter. I was trying Control Enter, so that will be why that didn't work. Good to know. Thank you. It shows off a basic Python functionality, including more visualizations, data structures, and scientific computing libraries. We also have SQLite.ipynb demonstrates how an in-browser SQLite kernel to run your own SQL commands from the notebook. It uses the Jupyter Lite/Zeus SQL kernel. Other sources of information in Jupyter. All right, we got the more on using Jupyter Lab. See the Jupyter Lab documentation. Okay.
More interactive demos.
More interactive demos. See try.jupyter.org for more interactive demos with the Jupyter ecosystem. Let's not do that quite yet. I want to go play with these tours because tours are an interesting thing and they often get things wrong. So I want to see if I can provide some feedback there. To learn more about Jupyter, see the Jupyter community documentation. I'm good for right now. If we do need more, I have that tutorial from DataQuest open. That's probably going to be a topic on its own at some point, because DataQuest is an interesting puppy there too. I believe they do still use CodeMirror 5 to my intense displeasure, but we'll have to see.
Join our discussions. The link to
we got Discourse. I actually put the this stream is on the Jupyter discourse at recommendation of Tony Fast in chat, so that is fun. I did put it in the accessibility category. It had 3 likes when I last checked. I'm not sure if more people actually saw it and then just didn't interact, or yeah, 3 whole people saw it, which great. A friend of mine, like the Ginger Kiwi in YouTube chat before, they put it on LinkedIn. So that may have been where some of you found this. I put it on Mastodon. That may be where some of you found this. So I'm trying to get this audience to grow. If you do think there's people who should see this, like not just this, but any other open source accessibility thing or hacking thing that I do accessibly, or code alongs, or I have a lot of plans for this channel. I want to do a lot of different things, like accessibility feedback, sure, but also just like going through like higher level hacking content, higher level coding content. We'll be looking at some AI things. So that's this channel, or obviously Xerxiax, the channel in the panels, is gaming. That is the accessible gaming side of things. That is also happening. So that's fun.
Ask questions, help one another, and discuss issues around interactive computing.
Yeah, let's just continue over here. Let's just go look at these tours, because this is pretty much done. Click to add a cell. We'll just add a new cell, see how that goes. We'll press a button here.
Cells grouping markdown cell content. Introduction to the Jupyter Lab and Jupyter Notebooks heading level 1. This is a short introduction to tool. Create a duplicate of a cell below. Create a out of toolbar. Ask questions, help one another, and discuss issues. Bullet join our discussions. The link.
Okay, so I pressed the button and it opened
create a duplicate of a cell below.
Cell.
Move the cell up. Control plus shift plus up. Move the cell down. Control unavailable.
But what kind of cell did it make?
Insert a cell above. A.
Let's see if we can find that out.
Insert a cell below. Delete the cell. E. Out of toolbar. Edit multi-line. Out of edit.
So it's made a code editor, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if you can choose the type for that.
Edit multi-line.
Yeah, like if you know any that, take your recommendations seriously, definitely send them my way. I'll love to have them in here. Let's try something. I'll just print. Can I have anything code completion now? No? Okay. No, that's apparently broken. Maybe that works on local. We'll have to see. Print. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. And I have done that. Let's do teapot. Let's fix that. Teapot. There we go. Teapot. Ah, yes, the teapot. The pot of tea. I remember it well. The teapot of 2012. Yes. So shift enter to run this.
Edit multi-line.
Okay, so a couple things happened there. Basically, we got a blank line that we're now on. We got no feedback about what actually happened to the cell we ran. That is something I would definitely encourage to fix. Basically, what right now, I have no idea what just happened. I need to go explore to see what actually happened to my UI, because all I got was essentially a blank multi-line edit field, which means I'm on a new line. This cell is...
Print, I'm a little teapot, short and stout, edit multi-line.
It dumped me in like a new cell. Did it open a new cell?
Out of edit. Toolbar. Delete the cell. Out of edit multi-line.
Yeah. So shift enter seems to have made a new cell below the one I was in. It didn't tell me about that. I just see that now because I'm looking at it. It also didn't tell me what it actually did to the code in the cell we were in. Did that run? Let's see.
Insert a cell unavailable. Move the cell down. Move the cell up.
We should see the content of our print.
Create a duplicate of a cell below. Out of toolbar. Edit multi-line print. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Out of edit star. Code cell content. Ask questions, help one another, and discuss issues around interactive computing and our ecosystem.
That is very interesting. So it did not actually... I don't think it ran it, did it? It just made a new cell.
Toolbar, create a duplicate of a cell. Move the cell up. Control plus shift.
Or we don't see the output.
Move the cell down. Unavailable. Insert a cell above. Insert a cell below. Delete the cell. D. Out of toolbar. Edit multi-line.
That is
Edit
odd.
multi-line print. I'm a little... Edit multi-line print. I'm right parent.
It's hacked. It's okay, I broke the computer. Look at that.
Mode. Full is active main landmark notebook content region. Click to add a cell. Edit multi-line. Out of edit. Code cell content. Edit multi-line print. I'm a little teapot, short and stout.
So right now what we're seeing is why. So right now what we're seeing is that I don't know what's happening. Like I'm being told it's hanging, but that's not being communicated. I'm just seeing that it made a new cell, a new code cell below the one I was in, and I don't know why I was moved there, and I don't know what my previous cell is doing. This is a great use for things like ARIA Live, where you just indicate, hey, we're doing stuff. If there's like a spinner on the screen, that's usually when you want to have some kind of verbal indicator that something is still is still happening. There's a couple things. You have ARIA busy. That is a good question, Trellard. Yeah, so ARIA Live, generally what you want to do is, yeah, for sure, like running or like working or something. Not every second. That's stupid, annoying. That's annoying as fuck. But just like every, I don't know, maybe every 5, maybe every 10 seconds, indicating a little brief message that indicates, hey, we're still doing stuff. Like, don't worry, you're not just waiting for no reason. As for what to say, that is a hard one because you have so many things here that could be doing things all at once. If you run the entire notebook all at once, that has a huge potential for huge amounts of spam and verbosity that you don't want. So I actually don't know how VS Code handles that because they have that same problem. And apparently I've heard from a person who uses these kinds of systems a lot that it works quite well. Like, I would think you want some kind of way to indicate, okay, cell X is done, cell Y is still running at some point. I don't necessarily think you want the actual output of a code cell to always be announced, because that could be a huge amount of information and you don't want that flooding the buffers. So it's probably a good way to have... Can we jump from cell to cell easily?
Notebook actions, toolbars, notebook content.
No. Okay, so you would want a way to quickly be able to jump from cell to cell in the preview, and you could do that with ARIA regions. Just like you've done here for the notebook actions, you could have cell 1 be a region, cell 0 be a region, cell 2 be a region. That way, if I could tell cell 1 is done running, I can go look at cell 1 and see what it actually did. I don't need to actually have that be shoved at me while I'm not ready to parse that yet. So yeah, don't shove everything in an ARIA Live. Just fire the occasional status message. Like, I still don't know if it's done yet.
Out of main landmark notebook content region.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Like cell X out of Y completed. Like, really what you want is an audible progress bar of some kind. You could do... if this was just for people who need to hear it, I would recommend doing like a little sound rather than a message. I think the use of ear cons is greatly like underestimated. I think a lot of things can be made a lot more efficient that way, but also you get into the cognitive as well as the not everyone works well with audio cues situations, so that's not always a thing. It could be an extension or like some configuration setting. That's what VS Code is doing a lot right now. They have a lot of audio cues for things, but they also have speech-only equivalents. So for example, if there's an error on a line, you can have a little boop, boop, boop noise, or you can just have it say error. And that's one of those things that we have. Well, if your focus is taken to the progress bar, that's a good question. Like, do you want... Like, a lot of users do not like having their focus moved around. Particularly if the focus, the progress bar is like way at the top and you're somewhere at the bottom. So even that, like, if I like the progress bar idea, but not everyone's going to thank you for that either. So it's one of those you can't please them all kind of situations, I think. But yeah, it also depends. Obviously, normally this doesn't take this long. Normally, like, this takes maybe a few seconds, unless you're doing like machine learning training or something, at which point you definitely would want to somehow be able to figure out like how far along your stuff is. Right, like it's really good that we have Crescent here in chat, because particularly because a lot of things don't work for you, that makes you a really great person to have in these kinds of discussions, because that, you know, you suddenly become this representative of a hugely like underestimated and underappreciated and underrepresented community that's even more so than just the average blind person. So yeah, definitely throw your stuff out when you have it.
Speech edit multi-line.
I think this is stuck, guys. I'll give it a hard refresh.
Notebook,
It's not doing it, so I'm just gonna refresh the page.
Main landmark notebook content region. Out of region. I'll start now. Don't show me again. Start now.
Let's hit the tour.
Start now.
Let's go to the tour.
Combining with heading level 4 working with notebooks.
Working with
Speech
notebooks. Heading 4. Why heading 4? There's no heading 1, 2, 3 to precede it. Heading 4 should not be used here. Bah! All right. Working with notebooks. Notebooks are documents. Oh, here's your explanation there, Crescent says. Notebooks are documents combining live, runnable code with narrative text, i.e. text, images, ... I like it. Okay, so we first had a heading 4 to precede these steps, and now there's no heading at all. Doesn't really matter. This is a bounded dialogue. We can't really leave it, which is actually an interesting thing that I think is going to run us into a problem in a little bit. But let's just continue reading what it says here. Notebook consists of one notebook. Notebook consists of one cell's list. That feels like it's not quite Englishing correctly, but let's just go. Notebook consists of one cell's list. This is the first cell. So this is exactly what I thought would happen.
Speech mode talk. Next. Skip. Close. Next. Skip. Close. Next. Skip. Close.
We have essentially broken the ARIA spec by complete accident. So what's happening here is we have a modal, and it's behaving like a perfectly good modal. It's locking your focus. It's neatly sticking you in the modal because you're meant to take an action. However, this modal is actually not fully page covering. Basically, what's happened here is we can look at the instructions, but not what they're referring to. And that's not even something I can really blame people for, because this is what the accessibility expert will tell you to do. It's a modal, therefore you need to lock the user in. And then when they close the modal, take you back where the modal came from. Problem is, if you close the modal, you dismiss the tutorial in this case. So this is one of those, how do you solve the problem that you can only see one thing at a time issues. I don't think this should be a modal, semantically. I think this should be a region, maybe at the top or at the bottom of the page. I don't know where it is visually. So you can quickly jump back and forth as a screen reader user, and there should probably also be some kind of mechanism for keyboard users to do it. How that would work is an interesting one, because we don't really have an established standard for that. F6 used to be the thing in Windows 90 old, Windows X painfully old, but that is not something that like particularly younger people are aware of. It's one of those weird, you know it if you know it, but if you've never heard of that, you'll wonder like where that even started. F6 is one of those keys. I don't think it works on the Mac either. It's one of those Windows conventions that sort of died the way of the dodo, well, year or 5 back. But it basically allows you to bounce between various areas of a window. It works in Explorer, for example. It works in Slack. Slack sort of copied that design. I'm pretty sure they copied that from a screen reader user who remembers this is a thing. Anything else? I think even the new Notepad doesn't. I think Word still might. So yeah, Windows applications have this concept. And VS... Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, screen reader users kind of learn these things as a kid because that's like the way to get around quickly. And then you're just sort of the only people who still remember that that's a thing. And it's not gone per se. Like, you can still do it in places, but it's sort of dying out. Like, it doesn't work in settings. I'm pretty sure. Let's try.
Settings window, home one.
No, it doesn't do anything in any like Windows 11 app. It doesn't work in most
Google Chrome 1 of 30.
Qt applications. I'm pretty sure it's very much like an older Windows 32 thing that is taking a long time to die. And amusingly, it's like the only standard I know of that lets you sort of dash between areas of the screen like that isn't a heading or a landmark. So for a keyboard-only user that's not a screen reader user, yeah, they're going to need to know how to get there quickly. There's not something that they're just going to expect is going to work. Tab
Shift tab, your arrow keys, space, enter, and escape are basically the keys you use to get around at that point, and that's not giving you a lot of options. Control tab is what some people do. I've seen that work in Linux apps in particular. Control tab in GNOME, for example, switches between panels, which messes with Windows users because that's the tab switching hotkey in Windows and in Mac. Yep. So yeah, this is a really interesting problem. This is one of those things that because everything's moving to the web so quickly and we didn't have a chance to essentially standardize everything, we now are in this place where everyone's doing their own thing. Discord, for example, just doesn't have that many tab stops. They basically just tab you from the server list to the channel list to the message list and then to the edit field, I think. Unless there's like links that are in the message list, generally that works pretty well, but it's one of those, you pick something and you go with it things. Very similar to drag and drop functionality from the keyboard. Sometimes that's space to pick up and enter the drop. Sometimes it's Control D to pick up. Sometimes there's nothing. It's not standardized. So this is one of those interesting things that I always like to see because this is an interesting discussion point. Like, how do you fix this? I would say make it a region at the top or bottom of the page. Another interesting thing in this particular instruction, it says this is the first cell. We don't know what this is. I'm assuming an arrow points to it. Obviously,
close. Next.
It could also mean that we're in. Maybe this is a cell. I think you're thinking of the Control M hotkey, Trallard. That is a thing where you can toggle either indent or tab out if you're in an editor field. I'm not sure where they got that idea from. I think Monaco does that too. It's one of those... When VS Code was first launched, it was completely inaccessible. Then me and a couple of other people started wailing on them and they fixed it. And now it's practically the most accessible code editor on the planet for some people. Not for everyone, for sure. It can be very overwhelming for some people, but it's still better than most of the things we currently have, which, yeah, choice is good, but sometimes you don't have any. So yeah, this is a problem. We don't really know what we're looking at. Let's continue the tour.
Dialog, a cell can have different.
A cell can have different type: code, execute code, markdown, formatted text, raw, plain text. All right, that's good to know.
Dialog,
a cell has an input and output area. This is the input area that you can edit with the proper syntax depending on the type.
Next.
Again, I'm assuming something's being pointed at here. We can't see what.
Dialog, hitting the play or pressing
Hitting
shift
the play button or pressing Shift plus Enter will execute the cell content if it wants to. We saw that doesn't always work just now. Next.
Dialog, once a cell has been executed.
Once a cell has been executed, its result is displayed in the output cell area. Yep, that's what I was trying to show off earlier.
Dialog, when executing a code
when
cell.
executing a code cell, its code is sent to an execution kernel. Its name and its status are displayed here.
Next.
So that is not a good instruction. You would say something like it's displayed in the toolbar. And like I said, I'm pretty sure that when I looked at Jupyter Lab locally, there was a couple more toolbars and things that I had. So what I would recommend you do in that case is you have something that you call your toolbar, say secondary toolbar, in your screen reader lingo, like in your landmarks terminology or in whatever it is, and then maybe just call that the secondary toolbar everywhere, like in your documentation, in your tutorials. That way, everyone knows what you're talking about. You basically have a united front of lingo that you can just sort of pull from, and everyone will know, okay, the secondary toolbar is this thing. Now, secondary toolbar is a bit of a vague example. What you might want to do instead is sort of link that to a location on a screen, say the top toolbar or the left toolbar, right sidebar, some whatever you want, because that also indicates for people who just want to get their stuff done in the documentation. I mean, you can use a screenshot with an alt text, but you can also just say the right toolbar, and then if you call that the right toolbar everywhere, so also in your landmark descriptions, I think that's going to help screen readers, because what I see a lot in screen reader land is when it says like an instruction like
click the play button in the toolbar, a lot of screen reader users don't know that there's more to life than tab and shift tab when you're not in a web browser. So they have no idea where that button is. And then they think it's not accessible, basically. That is a many-faceted problem. But at least if you name your stuff everywhere, if you name your stuff right in the same places, that way at least people will know if you're saying to someone, I need to get to the right sidebar, or heck, maybe you're using positional audio on the Mac and you can hear it's off to the right, you'll know what that's the sidebar. And you can just use that instruction and have that be the same thing. If you're calling something the right sidebar and then in the screen reader land it's called like tertiary adjunct toolbar landmark or something silly, I've seen it, then no one's going to know what you're talking about. So that's a tricky bit. Keep that stuff consistent if possible.
Name of the status are displayed here. Skip next.
Right, next.
Main landmark notebook. Out of visited link, skip to main.
Okay, the tutorial disappeared. We're now in a different notebook experience.
Mode. Main landmark note. Edit multi-line. Out of click to add a cell.
So what is this? Where are we in?
Last checkpoint 20 days ago.
Oh, is this the same thing?
Main landmark notebook content region cells grouping introduction to the Jupyter lab and Jupyter notebooks heading level 1.
Yeah, so this is the same thing. Let's try adding in a cell again, see if it's working this time. Add a cell. It makes...
import type list PLT import number NP number generate one toolbar. Create a duplicate of a cell below.
Yeah, so interesting. When you press the add cell button, your focus does a sort of a river dance all over the screen before it lands somewhere completely random.
Edit multi-line. No next edit
That's
field.
kind of odd. You might want to make that a little bit more consistent. Maybe, well, we didn't have autocomplete before, or maybe now it works because we refreshed. Anything? No?
Left parent.
Are you going to work? Otherwise, we'll just switch to the local one.
Toolbar, create a duplicate of a cell below. Move a cell up.
Yeah, that was my bad. I pressed the wrong button.
Hello world. Edit multi-line print. Hello world.
Shift enter.
Edit multi-line.
Okay, nothing happened. Let's go up.
Toolbar, delete this. Insert a cell above.
Run.
Move a cell down. Move a cell. Create a duplicate of out of toolbar. Hello world.
It did. Look at that. So now
Edit multi-line print.
we have the code right here. So it says print hello world right here. And then if I go down here,
hello world.
It says hello world, which is the stuff I added it to print. So if I make this a little bit more involved.
Edit multi-line print. Hello world. Edit multi-line. Edit multi-line print. Hello world.
So another thing we're seeing is if you down arrow from the bottommost line of a cell, you go to the next cell. But it doesn't tell you that because none of these cells are labeled.
Print hello world.
So now we just went to a different cell. It made this little white noise sound that means blank. So all we're seeing on the screen reader side of things here is the word blank, which indicates, yeah, you're on a blank line. I can cheat a tiny bit and see that that's not the same blank line we were already on because I have a braille display. But obviously for just a screen reader user, this is going to be confusing because this is not the blank.
Edit multi-line print hello world.
If I put a blank line at the bottom of this.
Print hello.
Now this is a blank line.
Print hello world.
And this is a blank line. And the only reason you can see that you're in a different cell is because if for some reason it briefly flashes the hello world line above to the screen reader before you switch over to a new cell. Now, obviously, that's horribly esoteric. Nobody's going to understand what that means. I just sort of figured it out from context, but you should never make your user do that. That's not a good idea. So what I would recommend you do here is just give these labels, like call them cell 1, cell 2, cell whatever the hell the names are. That is something you can easily do with ARIA label. That's not been done here, so that makes this difficult. There's also not an easy way from the code to see...
multi-line print hello world. Edit multi-line.
I think what VS Code does here is when you go down, either there's a hotkey that lets you read the current cell's result, or if you just go down arrow, it just goes to the result first and then to the next cell. I don't remember. We're going to find that out when we actually look into Visual Studio Code, obviously. But at the moment, this is what we have. So we don't know that we're in a new cell. This is still miles better than it was last year, or at least the last time I tried this, because that was when we used CodeMirror 5, which on top of all the things we found so far also meant you really couldn't use the editor very well, if at all. Pretty much all you would hear is blank, 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 and you was just not able to see what you were typing, what you'd already typed. That was a whole entire thing, necessitating you to basically just copy the code out into like a Notepad window or a VS Code window, do your coding, and then pasted it back into the thing. And at that point, why are you even using notebooks to begin with? You don't need to. When this was a thing, a lot of people would convert notebooks to just a regular Python script or an HTML file or some other things. That is something you can do. I don't think the interactable editors come with if you do that, but it will like take all your text and all your results and just let you sort of export an HTML or a PDF render of that, which is really great if you just want to show something off. Now, what do people use these things for? Like anything from just exploring Python programming, like we just did a print. If I didn't have a REPL, if I didn't have a evaluate print loop for some reason, and I wanted to use this instead, I could go up here to this line, and I could do. Let's do a little bit more involved coding here. Delete this. Everything is gone. Hello, chat. Y.
Speech mode off.
Is that your name? Oh, I think I called you Chatty last time, didn't I? All right. Hello, Chatty. We're looking at notebooks for Jupyter.
Speech mode talk.
Is the Jupyter playbook in VS Code accessible? I don't have no idea what that is, to be fair. Like, I'm assuming that's their notebook implementation. We're looking at VS Code notebooks probably next week. I don't know what playbooks are. Is that like a new thing?
Edit multi-line.
Okay, we're in this editor. Let's just do a little bit of coding. Like, let's say meaning of life equals 42. Oh, that's what you mean. Yeah. So the VS Code implementation is actually pretty good. Yes. They put in some serious effort to make notebooks work. They actually put in some serious effort to most things. If you look at the change log over the last 16 months, practically every release note has at least an accessibility section that fixes things like terminal stuff, notebook stuff, chat GPT stuff if you want that, editor things, like various signals for various things. So yeah, they've been hard at work making this better. I hear from someone that it's actually quite good now. I haven't looked at it in a minute, and we're going to look at it like next week probably. I really want to like support. Like I really want to just focus on Jupyter right now. So Microsoft is an interesting character where accessibility is concerned, and I'm going to probably be hated by some people for this. But Microsoft talks a really good talk, and then when it comes to walking the walk, they tend to limp a tiny bit. So VS Code is a bit of an outlier in that they're really putting their money where their mouth is. They're really working hard on it. Microsoft says they do, and then when it comes down to it, they kind of do, but also it's one of those, I always call it like a death by 1,000 paper cuts kind of thing. It's like most of it works, but then as we go further along into like Windows 8, Windows 10, Windows 11, more and more tiny little things become more annoying to do, like require a few more clicks, or there's no hotkey anymore, or there's like a thing that's now labeled weirdly, or the tab order is strange in a particular application, or it might be a bit laggy, but not quite enough to really care about. And just all that together, it starts getting really annoying, like after a while. Like I definitely don't feel as productive on Windows 11 as I did on, say, Windows 7. And I'm definitely not going back to Windows 7. This is a hacking channel. I would definitely get hacked if I did that. But I will not say that I love all the new changes that have been happening accessibility-wise. A lot of efficiency hacks essentially have been removed, or just not included in the new stuff. UIA, which is like the new version of accessibility APIs, are in a sense better, but they also have a lot of edge cases that were not accounted for, that are not being fixed currently. Narrator is like the built-in screen reader for Windows, had a big push for a few years, and then they sort of left it in an okay spot and just didn't push it anymore. Like it's okay, it's nothing wrong with it. It's not a terrible screen reader. I've certainly seen a lot worse. In fact, Narrator used to be a lot worse. But then it's not quite like... I can tell that there is an accessibility team at Microsoft. I can tell that a lot of people listen to them, I can also tell a lot of people do not listen to them. If you look at the Teams application, Teams is a great example of how something can be compliant and still dog shit to use. I'm sorry, it just is. Yeah, VS Code, I don't know why they're so gung-ho on this. I love it, don't get me wrong, but I don't know why they're the odd one out. Because I see a lot of teams where that doesn't happen. Like, I see Windows 11 itself sort of slacking. I see Office slacking. I see Skype. Skype and LinkedIn are sort of fine, but sometimes I just like, how did this even make it in? Like, I remember a while ago there was a pop-up, like an update pop-up. You know, we all love them. They're fantastic. We love the Microsoft update pumps. Microsoft is Lord.
Microsoft.
We love the Microsoft update pop-ups, of course. And there's a couple of buttons in that, like the Remind Me Later button, the Do It Now button, and the Go Away button, basically. Those weren't labeled. There had like no labels for accessibility on those buttons, right? I'm like, that is an honest mistake to make, but I'm seeing them a little bit too often these days. That's hard to do, chat. Why? Do I add automation scripts to add the hotkeys back? Some of the hotkeys are more mechanisms. For example, in long lists, you can type, this still works on some web applications, you can type the first few characters to quickly jump to like the first like occurrence of those characters in a row. Like if I'm in a long country selection list and I type NETH for Netherlands, I'll go straight there. Now, if I, for example, want to do that in, say, the list of add and remove programs in Windows 11, what I have to do is go to the search field, type in there, get very little feedback, tab to the results, and then find what I was looking for. It all works. It's all doable. It just takes longer for no reason. And for example, like what I'm noticing is that sometimes Windows Explorer lags when it shouldn't. And I noticed that buttons, like I said, are sometimes not labeled when they could very well be. It's one of those little things where I'm like, someone is on this, I can tell, but they also probably don't have the amount of testers that they probably should have. And I mean, I work at corporations like this. I've worked at Microsoft. I currently contract for GitHub. It's understandable. I know how these sort of backroom things work. Before you know it, you have a whole entire new thing that you're needing to ship, and PMs need to ship, and they need to ship features. And the accessibility test may not be part of the release process, and if it is, it may just take a while for them to get to it. And then by the time they get to it, it ends up in some Trello board or Microsoft project board, whatever they use, to get at some point when they have time. And then, of course, there is no time because we need to ship. So it's one of those, yes, Microsoft cares. I think there is like compliance things that they make sure they have the Microsoft accessibility standards and things do exist. I just don't know to what degree it's like running through all the teams. I don't know where and to what degree like there is champions for accessibility in individual teams. What I think is happening and what I saw happen when I was an intern there is that there is like an accessibility silo. And we see this in a lot of companies, like an accessibility team, sort of a central accessibility team that talks to everyone and tries to sort of make sure that these people are being represented, but then they can't be everywhere at once. And there's so many things happening at Microsoft that there may just not be enough people to make sure that it doesn't go off the rails. So I don't know. That is obviously me sort of spitballing. I haven't been there for like 8 years. I don't know what they're doing these days, but I do notice that I'm seeing a little bit too much stuff that I can wag a finger at that I would not like to see. So there is that. Microsoft is doing a good job in some apps and not so great in other apps, and that's sad. But on the whole, I do think they care. It's a slow, lumberous corporation. So yeah. I think the feedback may just not be getting to the right people, or it's just, I don't know. It's an interesting situation. I'm not sure what's happening there. So amusingly, the cell... Yeah. Yeah. VS Code, I've worked with the people when they were still very much, well, they still work out in the open, but back in 2017, I'd like to say, when VS Code's accessibility really started coming off the ground, there was a lot of issues, some made by yours truly, to make autocomplete work, to make the editor work, to make a lot of things work. There's just a lot of good discussion about, okay, how would we want this to be? How would we ideally have this? And then we just sort of see if we can get the right people involved and tell those people what to do. These people do it, and now it's fine. It's one of those collaborations that actually worked well, and that doesn't happen very often, unfortunately. But when it does happen, it's quite nice. But yeah, no, you're definitely right. VS Code does have that type of people. I think other teams do as well, to be fair. I think there's certainly teams out there at Microsoft that want to do the right thing and may just not know how, or they may get pushback, or they may not be, the people who own the thing that they want to fix, and then they have to drop it somewhere else. Microsoft is a fantastically large company. I've been on their campus. Like, their campus is practically a village. There's just so much happening there. So yeah, it's an interesting one. It's definitely an interesting thing to contemplate. What I noticed is that I deleted.
Out of edit code cell content. Edit multi-line. Out of edit toolbar. Move the cell up. Edit multi-line. Edit multi-line. No next edit. Edit multi-line. Meaning of life equals 42.
I deleted this. I thought I deleted this, but it looks like I made a bunch of extra cells that I didn't mean to make.
Edit multi-line.
And this is why it's important to make sure that your cells are labeled, because right now I have no idea what cells we're even in. I'm identifying the cells by what's in them currently, and it would not be too hard to just give these a name. So, I just went into the wrong cell. I just went too far up. Maybe a hotkey to sort of not let you up and down arrow key through the cells might be an interesting toggle. Problem is you need to do that so much on notebooks that may also be a hindrance. So I don't know. Like right now, it's really quick, really easy to just overshoot and go over your
meaning of life equals 42.
Cell border without meaning to. So I was going to do something, show something off. Like if you just want to do some programming noodling, like some Python, we have meaning of life equals 42. Let's do like a cost of life is 41. And if we do print meaning of, can I have tab completion? I cannot. Okay, that's a shame. Not sure why that's not working. Meaning of life minus cost of life. And I run that. You should see the number 1 being returned. Yeah, we did. Okay, that's great.
Edit multi-line.
So now we have a fancy calculator. When I was in high school, I did not have a proper graph calculator, so having this would have been very nice. Obviously, there is things like Mathematica and Octave and R, but I had to do like binomial like divisions and probability calculations using an Excel sheet. That was the only thing that they could find for me that would work. It was the whole entire thing, and I think I would have rather had something like this, where I actually learn math instead of learn what cells to put the right numbers in order to get the right answer to come out. Because that's really how I learned math. I'm not a great mathematician at all. I do want to kind of improve that at some point, but right now it's really just I learned a couple tricks when I was in high school. I don't really remember them, and I kind of wish I knew a little bit more about why and how they worked. But no, I basically just learned the commands on like an Excel sheet to get the right responses for the test, and then I never worried about it again, so that's a shame. Appreciate that, Trellard. Hope you had a good time. Hope you're going to have a good time, whatever it is you're going to off to do. And yeah, I'll definitely have you in other streams going forward. Have a great day. So how long have we been going? We've been going for about 1.5 hours. All right, let's just continue on until maybe 2 hours have passed here. Let's see what else we can do with stuff. Can we easily get to like the menu bar somehow? It doesn't look like there's hotkeys to quickly get there. Hotkey? Alt V, Alt E? No? Okay. Oh, wait.
Found one compromised password, 1 of 23.
Oh, that's a problem.
New tab control. Info document.
One compromised password. Oh, that could be like some of my password that Chrome knows about are very old. Indeed. So, if you start shift tabbing, can I get to the
Jupyter community documentation?
You have to go through all this.
Lawrence system. Lawrence document. Toolbar.
All
Markdown
right.
cell contents. With NumPy link. Block quote. Block quote. Block quote. Jupyter Light project. The Jupyter community. Markdown cell content set. Navigation landmark. Trusted JavaScript enabled for notebook display.
All right.
File submenu 1 of 7.
All right. So now when I shift tabbed, it looks like it dropped me on the file. If I go to the fourth
submenu 4 of
menu,
7.
then tab away,
Trusted JavaScript
and then
enabled.
come back,
Run submenu 4 of 7.
it's still going to be on the fourth menu. Okay, so that's interesting. It does remember that. Looks to be like just a consequence of using the menu bar pattern the way they are. Well done by that, actually. I like how that works.
File submenu 1 of section. New console for notebook 1 of 9. Menu.
So we got new console, save notebook.
Save notebook as Control plus Shift plus
We can
S3 of
save
9.
it as. We can actually look at that in a second, see how it lets us save things.
Save all 4 of 9.
Save all, rename, reload notebook. That's we've been using that a lot. Reload from disk. I'm guessing that's not going to work given this is a browser environment, but okay.
Revert notebook to checkpoint 7 of 9.
Revert notebook to checkpoint. I'm guessing a checkpoint's like a snapshot, like a git commit almost.
Menu. Trust notebook 8 of 9. Menu.
Not sure what that is. It's just an empty menu item, it
Trust
looks
notebook 8
like.
of 9.
We can trust the
Close and shut
notebook,
down notebook,
and we can
Control plus Shift plus
close
Q,
and
9 of 9.
shut down with Control Shift Q.
Menu. New console for notebook 1 of 9. Section.
All right, well, this could be an interesting way to learn about the hotkeys of the program. We can just go through these menus, see what comes
Redo,
up. I can see that, for example, redo is Control-Shift-Z.
Undo cell operation Z 3 of 20. Redo
We
cell
have
operation Shift plus
undo,
Z 4
we
of
have
25.
redo cell operation, which is Shift-Z. I don't think that would work in NVDA's browse mode, so be aware of
Cut cell
that.
X5 of 25.
Cut cell is just the letter X. That's odd.
Copy cell C6 of 25.
And
Paste
C
cell below
for
V7 of
copy
25.
and paste below is V. So a lot of these just have a letter for their hotkey. Obviously, for NVDA users, that may not work as well because that is also how you navigate through things in browse mode. So you'd have to be in focus mode for those. And I would guess that if you just start hammering those keys, you just start typing in the cell. So I guess you have to do this on like the toolbar or something to make that work properly, but that's something for later, I
Paste
guess.
cell above 8 of 25.
Yep.
Paste cell and replace 9 of 25. Delete cell D, D10 of 20. Select all
And here's
cells.
a number of
Select all
things
cells,
you
move
can
cell
do. You
down,
can select all
move cell down,
cells, you
Control
can
plus
move
Shift
them
plus down 14 of
around,
25.
Control Shift down and up, move cells up and
Edit notebook.
down.
Split cell Control plus merge selected
You
split
can
cell Control
split
plus
them
Shift
up.
plus
Not sure
16 of
why you would
25.
want to do that, but you can. What else you can do
Second.
here? We
Show header
can
2 of 20. Open Jupyter Lab 3 of
header,
20.
open Jupyter Lab,
File browser 4 of 20.
file browser.
Toggle
Oh yeah,
Zen.
we should probably look at the file browser. Let's have a look at the file
Untitled Google
browser.
Chrome.
That's
Jupyter
that
Notebook,
tree
Google
link
Chrome.
that we saw before. Let's have a look
Active
at
link
what
skip to
that
main. Visit
is.
link 3. Alert try to welcome tour. Start.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there was a command mode for the editor. How do you switch? Is it like Vim, like escape? Or alt?
Visited link graphic. Navigation landmark menu bar menu items up menu 5 menu items up menu view.
Let's see. Also, welcome in,
Scroll
Minard? Is that what your name is? Look at your name here. Minark. Oh, Control M. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, Minark. Yeah, so escape would Control M would probably be a little bit Minark.
Firefox v5.6.2.1. Firefox vMessage to stream min 1040 min. Arcade.
Yeah, you're Minark. All right, who's Minark? Is that some mathematical function that I'm aware of? That's kind of cool of a name. I like it.
Visited link 3. Visited link graphic.
All right, so we press the tree
Visited.
the tree button.
Files up
Let's see
menu
how the
1
file browser does, because that's something I was actually curious about. We're now
Use up
in a
menu 2 of 4.
different window, it looks like.
Main landmark tab control files tab selected 1 to 1.
Yeah, so this is like a
Use up menu
little
1 to 1.
different window.
Side panel content region.
Is it a different tab or a different window?
Info document.
Looks like a different tab. Okay, good. Otherwise, you guys wouldn't be seeing this. Okay, so we got select all files and directories.
List data section.
Here's okay. We have a data.
Toolbar. View site information menu secure.
Oh boy. Okay,
Jupyter
so
Notebook, 3
this
documents,
is an
main landmark,
interesting
files property page, side panel
one.
content region, list, data section. Data. 20 days ago. No next. Data. Name. Notebook. Name. Readme.md size 1.3. Notebook section. Data
Okay,
section.
okay. You can go up and down through these. That's good. This looks like they tried to make like a file tree, but have not actually made it into a tree view. There is an ARIA tree view pattern for this. They've not opted for that. It looks like you can up and down through these folders. So
Notebook
you
section.
can you open them with the right arrow?
Readme.md section. Notebook section.
No, it doesn't look like that's working. Okay.
Data section.
The reason it says section is because I think under the hood these are just spans, sections, or paragraph tags that they've just augmented. That's not how we semantic HTML, people, but okay. Let's
section.
go look
Readme.md
at a folder. If we go to
Notebook section.
notebooks, can we enter that? Open that with enter?
Intro document section.
Yes, we can. Okay, that's good. Can we go back with backspace? No, we cannot. This is probably another way to
Notebook
do
section.
that. Okay,
Readme.md
actually,
section.
we can.
Notebook section.
Just
Intro
took a
document section.
second.
Lawrence document section. Splice document section.
Let's open SQLite IPYMB notebook, see what that is all about.
Jupyter Notebooks, Google Chrome, Jupyter Notebooks.
Kind of curious how it renders like SQL output and things like that.
Don't show me again.
No, I don't want to see the tour now. I've seen that already. Hide notification, get out.
Don't show hide notification, don't show me again.
Don't show me again.
Hide notification.
Get out. All right.
Level 1.
So we are now in a different notebook that runs a different notebook kernel, I'm guessing, that lets you play with like SQL database tables. Let's see what this says. It says, okay, checkpoints, blah, blah, blah. Okay, there's a little icon, a little graphic with an alt text of SQLite. I don't think I need to explain how that's not a very helpful SQLite, not a very helpful alt text. Let's go down here. Jupyter Lite Zeus. I'm guessing that's meant to be Zeus with like an X because fancy. Zeus kernel demo. The Jupyter Lite Zeus SQLite kernel wraps the original Jupyter Zeus SQL kernel for use in Jupyter Lite. So Jupyter Lite is this new fangled UI you're looking at right now. Original kernel docs can be found here. Here is not a good link text. It's not context sensitive and people don't know what it means if you just land on it. Oh, I've said that so often today. The kernel provides cell magic for command line database operations and native execution of SQL code against a connected database. Markdown style content. All right, what else we got? Creating a database. Line magic is used to create an in-memory database. Okay, we have a code that just shows, what does it show? It just, okay, so a % character. I'm assuming that's what magic means, but it's a % character and then the SQL query, create example db.db. Currently, there is no ability to save the database to browser storage, export the database, load a database from browser storage, load a database from a URL, load a database from the desktop, connect to a remote SQLite database file. So it's pretty useless then. Okay, so let's see. Create and populate tables. Tables are created and populated using SQL. Probably, but the % character again, does that work? Yeah, it says % create table, players, name string, class. Oh, okay, so it's like one line. Name string, class string, level, integer, hit points, integer. Cute, it's a game character. All right. And then insert. Hey, but there's no % character for insert. Interesting. Insert into players. Name, class, level, hit points. For example, values. Martin Split Skull. Martin Split Skull. Warrior 340. Cute. Is there a way like run the entire notebook all at once? I kind of want to see what this output looks like. Select count star as row count from players, and that should return 1. Yeah. Comma. Oh no, it shows it. Okay.
Collapse output. Markdown cell content. Mark 1 row count.
What is those?
Space, comma.
Why does that like have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 commas? I'm guessing that's like the columns. But it's only showing 1, so that's kind of interesting. All right. Only one command can be executed from within a single code cell. Code cell content. Okay, what they're trying here is, I guess, more than one. Here we have an insert. Okay, the following will not be inserted. And there's another insert. There you go. Oh, okay. We'll try the inspector in a minute. Let's see what else this has to say here. Yep. Select name, level, hit points from players. Yeah. Okay, and then it just shows this little. I like
level, hit points. Martin splits 3. Martin splits L.
Why doesn't it just show it all 40. In one? Like, this is an interesting rendition of this data. Sir Walls 220.
Code cell content.
So instead of just rendering as a table, which I would sort of expect it to do, given this is all HTML, it's not a markdown table. It's literally just plain text, which, when you think about it, makes sense because the code is just pushing out plain text. I think what would be really, really cool in something like this, something like notebooks, is to somehow catch that output and tabularize it, tabularize it, I guess. That would be like, if I ever made like an extension, that might be a really interesting thing to build if someone hasn't already beaten me to it. Somehow I don't know if they would have, because people essentially don't like HTML tables for reasons that
7.
escape me.
Edit multi-line. Insert it.
So
Player.
what else can I
Name,
do?
class,
Insert
level,
in the
hit point.
players. Yeah. Sylvain, the Grey, Wizard, 110.
Out of edit.
That's a little baby
Code
wizard.
cell
Look at
content
that.
without 8. Edit multi-line. Select.
And then select name, level, hit points from players, and
Out
we
of 8.
assess we should see our Sylvain
Name.
right
Level.
there.
Hit point. Martin Split Skull.
We got
3,
Martin
40,
Split
Sir Wolf,
Skull against
20,
Sir
Sylvain the
Wolf,
Grey.
and then there's Sylvain the
1.
Grey.
10. Collapse out. Markdown cell content.
Cute.
Heading level 2. Querying tables.
Querying tables.
A
Can
full
I
range of SQL.
do
Query
my
command. Out of
own
reach mainland.
stuff?
Error.
Let's see.
Edit multi out of error. No such table. Layers.
No such
Edit
table
multi-line. Select
players.
name, level, hit
Select
points
name.
from
Okay,
players.
so let's try the inspector thing that you mentioned.
landmark.
Control-Shift-C.
Command palette section region. Search. Edit.
Oh, that brings up like a little... Okay, so let's see how this does, because this is normally when you would use ARIA Active Descendant to make sure that when you type, because the screen reader cannot focus at two things at a time, it'll sort of neatly handle that thing. Let's try that. Run.
Run.
And
Run.
it's not accessible, unfortunately. We have to
Menu item highlighted. Run out of highlighted. Selected cell.
do a little bit of
Menu item
trickery
shift plus
here.
enter. Menu item highlighted. Run out of highlighted. Selected cell. And do not advance. Menu item control plus enter.
Oh, okay, so Control-Enter does not advance. It just sort of lets you hang out in the cell you were in. Good to know. Can you
Command
tap
palette
into
section
that?
section. Command palette section region. Search. Edit. Selected. Run. Tool.
No.
Address and search bar. Edit. At. Code cell content with output section. Toolbar.
That is
Toolbar.
a
Use
crying
item
shame.
information. Select document. Code cell content with output section. Command palette section.
I see this a lot. Basically, what's happened here is that the results are not semantically linked to the input field. There is an ARIA property called ARIA Active Descendant that would let you essentially mark a list of results like this as being like there's plenty of examples online of this, but it lets you indicate this list is belonging to this input field. And when focus changes, you need to make sure that the screen reader gets the new focus. It's a thing you can do.
Menu item shift plus enter.
In this case, we have to jump into browse mode, and then look what we can do here. There's a couple things we can do here. It does look like that our search result gets highlighted in the items. That's kind of cool. Has like a little highlight across. This is what you searched for, and this is why this is part of the results. It's kind of good to know.
Menu item highlighted. Run out of highlighted. Selected cell and insert below. Menu item alt plus enter. Menu item highlighted. Run out of highlighted. Selected text or current line. Menu item ins highlighted. R out of highlighted. T heading above C highlighted. U out of highlighted. Re highlighted. N out of highlighted. T heading.
That was a bit much.
Menu item shift plus A. Menu item ins highlighted. R out of highlighted. T heading below C highlighted. U out of highlighted. Re highlighted. N out of highlighted. T heading.
Insert below. Okay, so because I typed run, it's now trying to help me by matching R, U, and N in different words. That's why it's so splittery. What if I search for run all? Run all.
Menu item highlighted. Run out of highlighted. Highlighted all out of highlighted above selected cell. Menu item highlighted. Run out of highlighted. Highlighted all out of highlighted cells.
Run all cells. Amusingly, there's no hotkey for that. Not by default, at least, but we can run it here.
Select document. Select document. Out of menu. Out of region. Main landmark. Notebook content region. Click to add a cell. Cells grouping toolbar. Create a toolbar.
So we basically got a lot of output there because NVDA is neatly doing what the ARIA spec says to tell us it to do. But we got nothing about the actual running of the cells, which is kind of a shame. So let's have a look.
Out of mode. Main land. Error. No such table. Layers. Edit multi-line. Select name. Level. Hit points from players.
So basically it says there's no players tab. I guess we deleted it in a previous
Edit
thing.
multi-line. Select star from potators.
Potators.
Inserted potators. Production. Values 7. Edit multi-line. Create table.
That's my little earcon for a blank line. It's normally it would say the word blank, which sounds a bit shorter. Little rising and lowering tones are left and right parens as well. Just shorter to say than left or right paren. There's a couple sounds like that. I forgot to turn those off. The little ding sound is a button. It's the word button. So it just makes things go a little faster. Good question though. Forgot about those. So just for shiz and gigs, can we just make a new cell and just make a new table? Let's try that. Add a cell.
Cells grouping toolbar. Create a duplicate of a cell below. Move a cell.
Yeah, blah 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 blah. So we're in a code cell, and I think the syntax was % create table. What shall we do? Mice. And if I hit Control Enter, that should run.
Create a duplicate of a cell below. Move edit multi-line %. Create table. Out of edit. Click to add a cell. Out of region mode. Full is active. Main. Edit multi-line %. Create table. Mice. Out of edit. Click to add a cell. Edit multi-line.
Did that run? I don't think it ran. Shift Enter.
Edit multi-line.
There you go.
Out of edit. Toolbar. Out of toolbar. Tool delete. Insert unavailable. Move this cell up. Create a duplicate of
So yeah, we already saw that these buttons need to be properly associated with their labels.
toolbar.
They currently aren't.
Edit multi-line percent.
That means if you tap through them, you'll just hear button and not say move cell button. Super simple fix, 5 minutes to do, but someone needs to go do it.
Edit multi-line. No next edit field. Edit multi-line. Inserted potators. Production. Edit multi-line. Create table. Potators. Production. Integer.
So I've expected some kind of error because we didn't give it any kind of like
Edit multi-line.
parameters
Create table.
here.
Potators.
So I
Create
would
table.
think that wouldn't actually work. Let's
Create
just
table.
for shizzles get this particular line here, just the
No
example,
next edit field. Out of edit multi-line.
and make a different table with a
Paste.
different
R.
string. It's called not potatoes. Potatoes are
Left
we
there,
already
E,
have
A,
potatoes,
E, O,
so we'll do.
E.
Oh, there's no percent characters. Oh, the percent sign was only for creating databases. Okay, fair enough. So create table. We'll do what's fun.
Space. Left parent.
Pewters, yeah, pewters, and we'll do like a pewters, and we'll give it like a name and a string.
N-O-I. Space. U-D-O-R-P.
Name. Storing.
I.
I don't think it needs to be in capitals. Pretty sure it doesn't. So let's just run that.
Toolbar. Create a duplicate of the cell below. Edit multi-line. No next edit out of it. Tool. Delete this. Insert a cell below. Insert a cell unavailable. Move this. Move this. Create it out of edit multi-line percent. Create table. Mice. Edit multi-line. Create table. Computers. Out of edit. Click to add a cell. Out of region mode. Mode. Full is
So
activated.
yeah, I would
Edit multi-line.
appreciate
Create
some
table.
feedback here. I don't actually know if this is working or not. So we're gonna just try to run something
Out of
here.
edit multi-line. Create table. Computers. Name string. No next edit field. Click to add a cell. Cells grouping toolbar. Create edit multi-line.
Select star from pewters. And it should just give us nothing. But maybe
Click
it
to add a
gives
cell.
us something.
Cells group. Toolbar. Create a duplicate of the cell. Edit multi-line out of edit 23. Toolbar. Delete this cell. Insert out of it. Move this. Create it out of edit 22. Edit multi-line. Create table. Computers. Edit multi-line. Select star from computers.
The rising tone indicates capitals, if someone's wondering.
Out of edit 23. Name.
The
Collapse output.
Okay, so
Name.
it does work. It's just giving us very lousy amounts of output. Okay.
No next edit field. Collapse. Click to add a cell.
So it just
Out of
shows
region
us that
mode. Full
there's a
active.
name. Now it doesn't actually have anything in
Mode. Full
it.
is
So
active.
if we were to
Name and
now
notebook content region cells grouping edit multi-line. Select star from computers.
insert stuff in, let's just get a random insert. My SQL is a bit rusty, so just allow me to use a pre-formatted example here, just to make sure that we don't fuck it up. Here we go. Let's make a new cell. Paste this in here. So we just copied the insert into potatoes production value equals 7. I'm going to value obviously we don't want production, we want name. We don't want potatoes, we want players. I'm clicking with the braille display if people are wondering how I'm jumping around like that. That is a bit of a cheat. You'd normally have to use like previous word, next word to get here so quickly, but that's just not something I want to do today. And the value would be, what shall we do? Enigma, why not? I think it needs to be in a double quotes, so we'll do Enigma. Yep, we'll run that. Whoop.
Toolbar, create a duplicate of a cell below. Collapse a name, 23. Name, collapse toolbar. Move this. Edit multi-line out of edit. Error, no such table, players.
No such table, players, huh?
Edit multi-line, inserted, players, name, values, Enigma.
Oh, I dumb. It's not players, it's pewters. It's not players, it's pewters. Pewters. There we go. Run that.
Toolbar, create a duplicate. Edit multi-line, inserted, out of click to add a cell. Out of region mode.
See, now it happily did it. It doesn't tell us it did anything, but it'll happily do it. So I'm about to sort of run, like, be done with this sort of demonstration for now. How accessible is Jupyter Notebook? This is like the Jupyter Lite version, the lab version, obviously, the highest power. And it can be worked with. It is not a very pleasant experience. Like, there is a lot of things that I would say can be fixed, and there's also a lot of low-hanging fruit that can be fixed. These buttons come to mind. There's a couple of more difficult things, like the announcing of cells actually running, a way to quickly see what the cell's output is without having to bumble around like I was just doing. VS Code certainly has some examples they can absolutely look at. They are very well done examples, I must say, so that is good.
On the whole, would I want to use this? Probably, honestly. Like if I have like something, if I need to work with a notebook example, and it's not completely about data visualization, I will probably happily take a look at it. If it is about data representation and we're using a lot of matplotlib and other such things, that definitely makes it harder, but that's not Notebook's fault, that's matplotlib's fault. Because there is no easy way to give alt text to these things. You need to be very clever in how you sort of indicate your stuff and how you're going to explain to a person who can't see your fancy graphics what you're actually trying to say.
Speech mode off. Speech mode off.
I always find that when I ask data science people to explain themselves without using their graphs and their scatter plots, they sort of clam up. So maybe that's why we don't have an alt text property. But yeah, basically that's, I think, what we're doing. Next week, I want to look at Colab. Maybe we'll like do some other things, see if I can find some interesting project, as well as VS Code, at which point we can sort of see, okay, the problems we found in Jupyter Notebook, have the VS Code books fixed those? And if so, how did they fix it? Like, is it better? Is it actually better for the people who need to use this? That's all the questions I want to answer next week. For right now, I think I'm going to get out of here because this room is really sweltering and I'm getting a little tired. Anything else? I'm just looking for people who we can raid at the moment. I don't immediately see someone that we can raid. It sees that I am live. That is nice to know. Who do we... Excuse me. Let's see if our friend, if our bear game making friend is doing anything today. He's an easy pick. He's an easy target to pick on for this. He tends to be around this time. Is he? No, he's not. Dang it. You left me down. You left me down. Let's see, who else can we bother? Let's go look at my the Discord for this kind of content. There may be someone who's live currently. You left me down. I hear music and I don't know why. Am I the only person who hears me? Is that Spotify? No. Oh, okay. I think I left the... Yeah, I see what happened. I left the stream page open for a person that's not live currently, so I guess I'm seeing their... I'm seeing their like previous stream. I just hear this really quiet music. I'm like, what is that? Why is that? But we got it. So yeah, next week, like I said, VS Code and Google Colab is what I want to cover. I'll see if I can find like a fun little, I don't know, maybe like a fun little machine learning thing that we can run while we talk about this stuff. Like I said, I have a DataQuest thing open. DataQuest is going to be its own thing. I do want to do more platforms. I am also looking at Hack the Box to do at some point. I want to look at like various cyber ranges and how accessible they are, and if you could make them accessible, stuff like that. There's a whole lot of things that I want to do, and it's going to be a lot of fun to just look through these and see how accessible they are. And if we can sort of, what I want to do like is twofold. Like one hand, I want to just be able to get through these, and I want people to sort of be there with me, people. That's fun. Sort of why I do my gaming streams. I want to teach. I want to teach people like how do you make this stuff better. But I also want to make sure that people who do see these streams and get stuck on these things sort of have a way forward. Now, that's not to say that my streams are tutorials. They're not really. They sort of just are a new person coming at this and using the skills that they happen to have to get around the problems that people put in their way. If that is how you learn, then it's a tutorial. If that's not how you learn, then it's not. That's really how I sort of do it. And if that's not how you learn, that's completely okay. I'm never gonna give you a hard time for that.
But yeah, that's generally how I do it. And I hope that by doing these, it's just I don't know, it's just fun. Fun to do.
6 mentions, 11 Y, 17 mentions.
I forgot the name of the server I wanted to look at. Let me actually turn that speech to me only so I get it a little faster. Yeah, this gets immediately archived on the YouTube channel, Blindly Coding. If you're not subscribed there yet, I would really appreciate it if people could go do that, because I kind of want to bring that channel up to like the magical 500, so I can put a little bit of like YouTube flair on like the whole thing. And by that I mean like I know that on Twitch I have like the whole affiliate thing where like it allows you to do a couple more things. I don't do these streams for the money by any stretch of the imagination. It's of course always nice if I can make a little bit of a living with these, but that's never the main cause. Having said that, it is nice to have like a larger audience. Thank you so much. I'm looking for the server. Why can't I find the server? Ah, that's what it is. I found it. Let's see. So when I do these streams and I raid out, I try to do like a stream that's at least doing some kind of coding related things. I see someone here is doing a... Let's see, is this person still live? Because this looks cool. Okay, this is not an actual stream. This is Thindle. This person's doing a .NET 8 project. That looks pretty fun. Let's see if they're still up. So yeah, I wanted to also do a couple of things where I just build stuff. Could be AI stuff, could be AI assisted stuff, but could also just be completely random stuff like bots for Twitch or other things of that nature. I just want to see if this person is still here. I want to like work on a couple of Drupal and WordPress websites at some point. That might be fun. This person's also gone. I'm not having a good time, guys. Okay, well, this person's gone. I don't know. Does anyone have a person that they think I should like go bother? Because I don't really see anyone in my usual circles that are currently live, unless I'm missing someone. No, it doesn't look like it. All right, well. Worst case, we can just end it here. Not a problem. Announcements. Anything here? Just last thing I check. Nope, everyone's gone. All right, so... Oh, yeah, everyone's gone. I don't know. I guess it's just a quiet day. That means I'm just going to let it go for now. I don't really have anywhere to go, fortunately. So the raid will have to wait. Honestly, like the raid is kind of a done deal anyway because YouTube people don't come along with the raid, so there's that, and that's one of those things that becomes a little tricky when you multi-stream to YouTube as well. But that just makes it a lot easier for me. So until Twitch smashes me down, that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'll be back next Tuesday on this channel and Saturday on XerxEX, where we'll do probably some World of Warcraft retail on the gaming channel and maybe some Pentiment. I want to see if that's doable at all and see how far we get with that. It's like a narrative 16th century mystery story thing. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Who's hacking me? Appreciate that. Dr. Tony Fast, you're hacking us. That's very nice of you. Yeah. See you guys around for more notebook stuff next week. XerxEX is doing World of Warcraft this Saturday. I would do a stream tomorrow, but I have another thing to do on tomorrow around my regional streaming time. So I'm just going to let that one go for now. That's really all I had to say for today. I'll see if I can get the intro music fixed for next time. And you all have a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.